Hi everyone, it's Anna from Kit & Cat Shop, and today is going to be a little tour down memory lane, an unboxing, and a little bit of history behind this lady next to me, Holly Hobbie. As I mentioned, we're going to have a little trip down memory lane and give you a little bit of history behind our little prairie friend here. And long before there was Holly Hobbie or the Blue Girl, there was Sunbonnet Sue. And Sunbonnet Sue actually started out as an applique pattern in the 1870s. And around the Great Depression, she became more popular as a more simplified pattern as an applique design for using up scraps of fabric. A lot of times like those feed sacks that we would see, the small print calicos. Also during the early 1900s, there was an artist who did a series of books called Molly and May. They were also sometimes called the Sunbonnet Girls. So a few things to note about the Sunbonnet Girls. They were friends. They lived on the prairie, large bonnets, and you often didn't see their face. So that's of important note because the original illustrations for the Blue Girl, aka Holly Hobbie, was a girl with a large bonnet and you didn't see her face in the original illustrations. The original illustrator and artist for Holly Hobbie was a woman called Denise Holly Hobbie. Yes, that really was her real name. And she started drawing what she called the Blue Girl in the late 60s, early 70s. Eventually she licensed her designs to American Greetings. And that's where I met Holly Hobbie. As a child of the 70s, I got birthday cards with this young lady. I had a lunchbox. American Greetings put out a lot of material and collaborated with other companies to have the illustrations on their products. Bob Childers is often given the credit because he decided that Holly needed to be a doll. And he made the first prototype. Now, about this time, he knew about the renewed interest and popularity of other rag dolls, such as Raggedy Ann and Andy. So the original Holly Hobbie was not intended to be necessarily a doll you played with, but she was supposed to be a comfort, or like an emotional support doll. So the original Holly Hobbie was licensed out to be made by a company called Knickerbocker, and they had been making soft toys and various children's toys for quite a while. So in 1974, that's when Knickerbocker obtained the license to make the first Holly Hobbie dolls. The original doll was a 29-inch tall rag doll with clothing, a bonnet, yarn hair, and a painted face. She debuted in 1975, and I was obsessed. Again, child of the 70s, very young at the time. Wanted one of those dolls so badly. In addition to the 29-inch Holly Hobbie doll, there were many other releases that Knickerbocker made. They made smaller dolls, 18-inch. I actually have an 18-inch Heather doll, which apparently was one of her first friends. They also made down to, I have a 6-inch tall Holly Hobbie doll, and she's just as detailed as the 29-inch one. They even made a sleeping doll. I had this one originally. So the mechanism is actually two cloth faces with openings where the eyes are. So when she's awake, you see the painted open eye. If you move the bows on her bonnet, it slides over the openings, and then you see her sleeping eyes. Her outfit would also turn over, the skirt would come up and over and form a nightgown. Nightmare fuel, huh? In addition to Holly Hobbie, Denise did other characters as well. She had a group of friends. She had Heather, who is seen on a lot of the earlier illustrations, although I believe her best friend changed in later iterations and storytelling of the doll. But she also has a brother, and not many people know about him. Reminding me very much of Sunbonnet Sue brother, who is known as Overall Sam, or Overall Bill, depending. Holly Hobbie's brother is named Robbie, so yes, we have Robbie Hobbie. And the dolls were designed actually based on her own children. In 1989, Tomy actually made the vinyl dolls, and I really think that the Tomy dolls is the face that we see in modern Holly Hobbie dolls, as well as when they updated the franchise of Holly Hobbie, that's the face that most people recognize. So why did I bring up Sunbonnet Sue with Holly Hobbie? Well, because this character was derived in the 1970s. And there was a lot going on in the 70s, especially around 75. Our bicentennial was something that a lot of people were looking forward to for a lot longer than just the year of 1976. Also, there was a lot of conflict, a lot of political turmoil, and some economic issues during the 70s. Things like Sunbonnet Sue had a resurgence. Holly Hobbie definitely tied into that. We also had the introduction of the long-running original TV series of Little House on the Prairie. And before the television show, the books were very popular. These were all based on prairie life, an idealized version of prairie life. There was a national obsession with all things Prairie Core. It was a look back to a romanticized version of what life looked like on the frontier when we were just starting out as a new country. It represented a collective retreat to a time that we thought was more wholesome, simpler life, of a rural past that honestly never existed. This fantasy was not without its problems. It definitely left out any people of color. It ignored the situation and events that surrounded around Native Americans that were already existing in the prairies. And it was a bit insensitive. So I see a lot of that reoccurring. We have a new Little House on the Prairie. We have new Holly Hobbies. So, but we need to make sure that we remember to keep these in where they started, the fantasy realm. This is a fantasy version of a lifestyle that never actually existed. We can enjoy the dolls. They're beautiful, they're sweet. I love her expression. I love the message that was included usually with the... I love the messaging that Holly Hobbie brought, because most of her drawings, illustrations, the cards, the calendars, they all had statements about friendship and kindness and gentleness. And I don't think those are invalid. I have already opened one of these dolls, and I'm going to go ahead and play that video for you in a little bit. This one came from Ruby Red Fashion Friends, and it was a collaboration that they've actually been working on for 2 years before she came out in May of this year. I did receive this doll in May from a dear doll friend who was trying to cheer me up, and it worked. I love this doll. Thank you very much. The funny part is of Corey ordered me one too as a surprise. So I ended up with 2 of these dolls. After talking to him, I'm going to keep the one my friend sent me, and I am selling the one that he gave me with his permission, just because I don't have any room for 2 of the exact same doll in the doll room. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I love you guys. Until next time, bye-bye.